Good morning. I am off to Bath today. This is always the issue when vlogging with somebody taller than me.
There we go. Oh, this is what the world looks like from down here.
It's Simon!
Hello. I've got wait. I won't explain. It's easier to not explain.
No context.
Let's go.
Let's go this way. Haven't what?
Don't turn sounds off on your camera. It makes that little jingle every time you...
I can turn that off.
Yeah, it's in settings. This is why we collaborate.
I used to often hate vlogging in public because everyone knows I'm filming because it goes boop and I'm like...
Oh, check out this nerd.
So before I arrived, I texted Simon saying, warning, I'm vlogging. And then you said that you need to start your monthly vlog.
Mine's in the studio, we'll catch up.
But I then got a flashback, like a really cringy flashback. I can feel myself like, oh, like the pain of it. Do you remember like back in the day of like gatherings and lots of like community hangouts and everyone would be vlogging? And if two of you were vlogging at the same time and in each other's vlogs, what would you say?
Oh God, I wasn't really vlogging back then.
Oh, weren't you? You'd be like, oh, it's a vlogception.
Oh God, oh no, thanks for reminding me of that.
No, I just kind of like, I had that exact same reaction. I was just like, oh no. But yeah, that's what we used to say.
Hey, this is beautiful Bath.
Welcome to Bath.
We've got Bath Abbey behind us where the first king of all England was crowned.
There you go.
Local boy. There you go.
It did it silently. Thank you, Simon.
Stealth vlogging activated. Have you got a pen?
I do have a pen, not a nice pen.
You know, should we just do a quick stealth signing?
Yeah, go on. Hold on, show the book.
Okay, sorry, this is Firmament, Introduction to and History of Atmospheric Science. Wait a minute. Oh no, this isn't the hardback, so it doesn't have the picture of me in it. I wanted to do that hot fuzz shot, you know, when he's next to the picture.
I do have a pen if you want to sign it, but they might have Sharpies here.
The fun of it is that they don't know.
Stealth sign.
Right, here's a tip for anybody. If you walk into a bookshop, pick up a book and sign it, nobody stops you. It's incredible. I'm pretty sure you could do this with any, you could do this to the Bible and just do like a stealth signing. Nobody stops you. It's incredible. And here we go. There you go.
There we go, folks.
If that's still here in a year's time, then that's a little depressing.
Well, I think this video is going to come out like a month after filming it, so... So the challenge is if it's still there when this gets posted, then come try and find it.
Now. That's less valuable.
We have made it to Simon's studio!
Don't look at the mess!
What are you about? Just some paint modelling happening. Look at Simon's collection. Oh, here we go. Can I do a tour?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do a tour.
So we've got two halves to the studio, basically. We've got, like, this half is kind of practical production side. So we've got lots of storage down here.
Love the corkboard.
We've got pegboard for all the equipment and everything.
Pegboard.
We've got sort of practical storage in terms of both hobby stuff and filmmaking. So in here, for example, we've got like camera equipment, that's all the sort of odds and sods. All of these drawers come out, but then also for hobbying and stuff, so that's like oil paints or palettes, whatever
So
it
because
is.
this is like a work and a hobby studio, what if you want to do your hobby in the evening after baby goes to bed?
I can't really.
Yeah.
It's something that I can do on the weekends if I get permission to come down from my wife, but it does mean that hobby is like lunchtime now, which is like, it's good and bad in that like I'm not distracted at all when I'm doing it. I definitely get like an hour of hobby time in every day, but you do miss doing it in the evenings. And there's that kind of blurring that line between work and play, and you know, that's great. This also has these acoustic curtains, so these...
Oh, I used to have one of those.
...go on the dividing line between the two sides. If you come on this side, they are a bunch of command strip hooks. So the idea is that you can acoustically isolate this half where we do production.
Filming.
So this is where I film at the desk, and we've got two backdrops. We've got a black paper backdrop and a green one for green screen. The actual lighting in here is actually really quite good for green screen, but you know, we typically have other lights in, and then we have like a coloured light that we can use to illuminate the backdrop. which is pretty fun. I made this table. This is like the centerpiece of the whole studio. I made this when I took a month off to build the whole studio, and it's a mixture of some new components, but also some wood that my dad had left over. So I've never made anything like this before, but he was a big kind of woodworking kind of guy, so I was able to borrow that and cobble together as best I could. But
Very cool.
It's where I spend like hobby time, but filming time as well, and reading. So it's really nice to have that, like, and have him part of this studio. Then yeah, that's the workstation. Two screen setup, and there's light behind for when I'm doing video calls.
Oh, nice.
And easy access to textbooks and popular science books and stuff. I need to check things. And then I've got a YouTube plaque. I'm still working on the next one, but we'll see. We're a way off. We're halfway.
Halfway.
Over halfway.
Let's go. I'm still trying to get to 100 on this channel.
What if you're watching this and you're not subscribed? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Why doesn't Hannah have one of these?
And more Hannah needs one of those.
Sorry, more Hannah needs more plaque.
And then there's the kitchen.
Yes, kitchen with a completely healthy fridge. If you want to take a look at what's the entire contents of my fridge.
Fridge tour.
It's just Diet Coke.
There's some water and some ketchup.
And an alcohol-free beer for when I want to get frisky. And then, oh, this was cool. So the stuff that's up here, this is a bunch of artwork. I made that poster. This is my friend Dom, Domain of Science. He made that, my degrees. I was given this one at a book event, and this one's from Bidwinter Minis. This was
is very cool.
A diorama that I made of a zero carbon city. So I did a whole video about this. I painted and built all the models as a normal city, and then we modified it to be net zero carbon. Wow. So like green roofs, white roofs, and direct air carbon capture, various changes in the city. And fortunately, because it was a ton of work, the video did well, so we're going to hopefully do another one of these and do some more dioramas. So we'll hopefully have lots of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I really, really hope that we can sort of deck it out. That works. And to be honest, the key shadow to fill in is actually on the back of my head in front of the black window. Yeah. And it's doing that, and it's pinging us all right. Yeah, it's all right.
That's all right. Should we film a video?
Right, let's get mic'd up. Yeah. Bloody YouTubers.
Hate us. Okay, hold on. I need my phone. I have some questions for you.
Do we want to turn off our cameras?
What we're going to do is we're going to like...
we're
going to do like a fake intro, and then we'll turn off the vlog cameras, and then we'll actually crack on.
Do you want something else to sit on? I'm just looking at our relative. We could put.
There's no secret. I'm short.
Okay, as long as you're happy with it. I wanted to give you the option.
I'm a short lady. Can we do this?
Oh, do you know what we could do?
Because then I'm less likely to stare at us.
Sure.
And actually look. Okay, we've had lunch. Time to sit down and chat, because this is what I came here for. Well, obviously to hang out with you and your family.
And see the studio.
And see the studio! But I thought it would be really interesting for me, maybe other people.
Yeah, you guys being here is entirely incidental. We just wanted to have a chat about this.
Because Simon and I recently went through very similar things as content creators. Like, we had a certain dilemma, but we both took very different solutions, routes out of it, and are now in very different places. And there's almost this kind of really beautiful, like, cyclical thing of like, actually at the beginning of this year I left my studio and you have now got a new studio.
Not the same studio.
No.
Just to put that out.
And I just thought that was quite symbolic of the different choices that we made.
Yeah, you sort of, you took the exit from the freeway, and I saw the exit sign and I was like, no, hard down on the accelerator, let's keep going.
That's kind of how I would summarize it, is that I quit and you doubled down.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen who made the right choice.
Stay tuned. But both routes that we took are valid and come with different things, and obviously our unique situations led us to making the different decisions. So that's what we're going to talk about. It's been a bit of a mystery what the actual situation is.
Yeah.
So let's give some context. Simon and I are both YouTube content creators, have been for many years.
Many years.
Many years. And both recently had children separately with our separate partners. And faced the situation of the impact that, one, having a baby has on your career as a content creator, freelance person, self-employed, small business owner, like all of that. But then also I think part of it is probably to do with like how long we've been in the game. So it's kind of like a bit of those two things combined, maybe.
When did you start making videos? What year was it?
2011.
Right, because I was 2010 was my first. But you went full time and sort of did it as a career way before.
2015, yeah, but that was because you were doing
I was doing a PhD, but
which is very connected to what you make content about. So kind of, you know,
so it feels like a logical continuation of doing a PhD. Like I have been doing videos in one form or another about sciencey stuff since like 2013.
Yeah, and even though I started making YouTube videos in 2011, I started making sex ed content at the beginning of 2012.
Right.
So that's the context, and I had a baby in 2022 and your baby was born
last year, 2023.
2023, and I'll do a little summary of the situation I found myself in, and then you can
go for
do
it.
yours. So for me, part of my plan of having a baby and taking the leave that I wanted as a content creator, I planned to take 3 months off making any videos entirely, was to bring somebody new onto the team and outsource more of my work to reduce my workload. And that was bringing on a producer who I then worked with for 2 years. So they saw me through mat leave, coming back from mat leave, and then like that first like year and a half with a baby kind of situation. And what I found that happened in that year was, with my hours being massively reduced, I basically went from working like full-time to part-time. Especially at the beginning, I was like working half days. We didn't reduce the output of the content we were producing.
Well, because the income had to be the same, if not higher, because you've outsourced some of the work.
Exactly, yes. And only like the year before, in 2021, had I started renting the studio. And what I noticed happening, so I came back from mat leave like at the end of the summer in 2022, was working half days part-time until the end of that year. And by the end of that year, I could feel myself really struggling emotionally, financially, just with passion and motivation for like what I was doing. But I didn't want to make any decisions at that time. And then I called 2023 my go big or go home year. And so I really put like everything into it to try and make it work, but with the caveat of like being okay if it doesn't work out. And by work out, I really needed it to financially work out.
That's the fundamental thing when you're doing this as a job.
And then last summer, I did a lot of soul searching and realized that what I wanted to do and needed to do was basically discontinue the sex ed of my business. Because I was also still making lifestyle content at that time anyway, so it wasn't a complete departure from YouTube. I keep still getting like messages being like, I thought you quit YouTube. I'm like, no, I'm still
here, literally.
I'm still here. So yeah, that's what happened with me. It was becoming financially unsustainable. Basically every month when my team's invoices came in, I was paying them from business savings rather than from actual revenue that was coming in.
And I think there's another angle in that situation, well, that I also faced as well, which is that you feel a much larger sense of financial responsibility when you have another human to look after. Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody, sure, you have shared finances and everything, but like when you have a child that, like, I mean, the secret is they're quite cheap to begin with, but they get very expensive. You do feel that responsibility to bring in enough money and what may have been considered an acceptable level of income when you were working for yourself was suddenly, you think, it's either not enough or it's not reliable enough.
Well, my income and my profits basically massively reduced.
Yeah.
Just like shrank. And I'm very lucky that the previous years before I had Rowan were very good years financially, like stupidly good. But the last 2 years have been stupidly bad. So it's
evened out.
It's evened out. So yeah, your situation, what happened with you?
So my situation was, there's a compound thing that happened with me. So became a dad last year, best thing that ever happened to me. And but
no regrets.
But that year was like a real roller coaster because I went into becoming a dad and I said that I was going to take 6 weeks off. I couldn't afford to take more than that off. I would love to have taken 3 months or more to properly be there. But I had already burned through my business reserves because earlier that year my dad passed away. And so I'd taken 2 months off to basically kind of be there for my family and to help with, to grieve and to sort of get through everything in the will. And so I was going into being a parent with basically nothing left in the tank.
You'd spent your reserves.
Yeah, because you don't plan on having a year where that happens, you know?
Yeah.
And so I became a parent, took a couple of weeks off. I actually went back before then. I think I probably had like 3 weeks properly off, and then I had to get back to start bringing in money. And it got to a point just after when my baby was born, so it was she was like 2 or 3 months old, and I basically put out a video saying, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I have reached financial breaking point. I have run out of savings. I hadn't taken a wage at that point for like 3 or 4 months.
Right, yeah.
And, it was just looking like whatever I was doing in terms of business was not profitable enough.
Yeah.
And the incredible thing that happened was that Patreon,
the people rallied.
It's that meme of Fry that's like, shut up and take my money. That's basically what people did. I explicitly said in that video, I was like, this isn't me asking you to sign up to Patreon. If you would like to, this is where you can do it.
Yeah.
But it quadrupled in size.
Amazing.
And I'm still kind of, I remember that initial week, I was like, I could barely process anything.
Yeah.
It was such an overwhelming shock. And so I had this opportunity with that new source of funding to accomplish a couple of things.
Yeah.
I could notably afford a studio space because my office was the 9-foot by 9-foot room that's now my daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could have worked from home with a baby, recording in the space that we had, because there was like no other space in the house. And so this was like, right, if we're going to go for this, we're gonna go all in. We're gonna rent a relatively large space and try to make bigger, higher quality stuff, if possible, more frequently. And as a result, we have seen outgoings go up, but we've also seen income go up. And it's not been even, like it's been on the whole, in you having 2 good years and 2 bad years, I think I'm having that in terms of months, like month by month, it's very up and down. But on the whole, it seems to be working out. But, with us basically paying myself at the end of the day, basically the same as what I've been paying myself for the past 2 or 3 years. It's just that I'm spending a lot more on this space and on helping me with the videos. So I've got a full-time editor, Luke, who I've been working with for 2 years. Yeah. And I'm now getting people from time to time to help with pulling research notes together for videos. Yeah.
And I think one of the important distinctions is, like you were saying, you were basically at financial breaking point, which was why you made that video that was just like, guys. Whereas I hadn't reached that point yet because I had a really healthy amount of financial reserves in my business still. Yeah. But I recognized that if I kept going the way that I was going, that would not be the case for much longer. So that's one distinction. Another big distinction that I think separates the core reason behind why you doubled down and why I went, I'm good, I'm out of here, is because I'd kind of lost my passion and motivation for the subject area that I was talking about. I felt kind of...
You said what needed to be said.
I felt complete, I felt done. I knew that I was struggling to kind of feel motivated in terms of like ideas and just like excitement for it really. And I felt ready to kind of like pass that on to other like sex and relationships content creators.
And that might sound like a luxury for a content creator to have, or anybody in a job to have, but I think if you're on camera talking about this stuff, people can tell when your heart isn't in it.
Right, exactly. And the channel was suffering because of that. And the other thing that happened, which is one of the traps that you can fall into as a content creator who then like has some success, and so then you start outsourcing because you're like, oh, I'm having financial success. Okay, I can free up my time and I can do more projects and I can work on other things if I outsource editing or I outsource this and I outsource that. And because I did not have time capacity, because I was also being a mum, and then also I was running dry in terms of like my own motivation. Yeah. And then, my well was very much empty. I was outsourcing, like producing a lot of script writing and research and editing. And what that does as the creator is that it kind of distances you from the content. Yeah. And so I was just feeling like I was just the host a lot of the time, even though I was still like involved, but not as involved as I used to be.
But there's a product. You are a small part of it, rather than what it used to be, which is this artisanal thing. This is the thing that like I have made myself. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm right for you, you were like, no, I am not ready to stop making videos about this. Like I have a lot more left to give. Like this is, whereas I was just like, I'm done.
I feel with climate stuff specifically as well, there's a certain sense of being cursed with knowledge. Like once you know this, it's like Tony Stark. Like, you know, once you know this stuff and you have an ability to communicate it, I feel obliged to keep making this stuff. I was talking to my therapist about this. It feels like I've built a treadmill and I've lined that treadmill with people who are cheering me on. And it's like, you're doing so great. And you're like, getting really tired, but I know I've got to keep going. And
Until the climate crisis is solved.
yeah, what happened this morning, Hannah?
We are recording this on the day after the US election, so keep up the good work.
Yeah, it's kind of set us back by a long time. So yeah, there's not going to be a shortage of videos, let's put it like that.
Anyway, it's interesting to me then that you were like, I'm not done and I want this to work, and by asking for help, even if you weren't directly asking for help, people rallied and you've been able to do this. And then my strategy was downsizing the business massively.
I'm not convinced that necessarily I've done this in the optimal way.
Oh, really?
Well, because here's the thing, when you have a baby, you don't sleep and you're exhausted and all of your energy is going to this like new project.
Yeah.
And, you know, looking back, I was making huge decisions about the course of our family's life and my career, you know, with very little reserve going on in my head.
I remember the last time I came here to hang out with you, you were like, okay, I've suddenly got all of this new money from Patreon, like what do I do with it? And my instinct, having just begun my year of the downsized version of my business, was like, just chill out, like save it, like be conservative with that. And you were like, no, I must spend it. And I was like, careful.
Yeah. I mean, I've not gone on a crazy spending spree. Like, we were still very much making up a deficit that was there before.
Yeah. But does your channel feel healthier? Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of views, engagement,
yeah,
like that kind of thing as well?
I think it does feel healthy, and that's partly because I know I have that month-to-month reliable income from Patreon.
You can take more risks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the projects that you take risks on, they do end up, there's a diorama on the wall over there that I spent like 3 weeks making that was initially a project that didn't do very well at all and then really took off. And it's like, I never would have ever had the confidence beforehand to try something like that.
Yeah.
But then also I've been able to work with a YouTube coach and like been able to pay him to advise on strategy and thumbnails and titles, and that has definitely been money that you can see, I think, in the response.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does feel like it's working out, but I don't know what the 5-year plan is. I don't know what the end goal is.
Well, that's interesting because I feel like we're both in that state as well, where we've made these decisions. We're now like in the new version of what our businesses and our content looks like, but it's still so new that it's like, what's the long-term plan here? And I don't know about your situation, but I've spoken about this a lot, but Dan and I are trying to have another baby. So part of my business plan is doing stuff that I can easily dial up or dial down, depending on what my capacity is. And I'm like, guys, my capacity right now, I'm working under capacity, ready for this pregnancy to kick my fucking butt, but I am not pregnant yet. And I'm like, part of me is like, oh, that's lots of time that I could have spent doing things that helped to build revenue, but I've not been able to do that. But you can't like get into your head about that, because like, what if I had got pregnant? Then I don't want to be in a situation where I've like overbooked myself and net capacity, and then suddenly I'm pregnant and I'm really sick like I was last time. So it's like,
I do think there's a component to this as well that we haven't touched on yet, which is that, you know, you took 3 months off, and then you were part-time because you were still doing childcare during that time. Whereas I could take 6 weeks off or less than 6 weeks off and then immediately get back to work. And the onus of childcare wasn't on me, and there's definitely a gendered aspect to this.
Oh, 100%.
Like, it's a very different calculation if you are a mum and society expects you to be the primary caregiver.
Yeah, and your wife has a traditional job and so was able to take a full like 9 months to a year mat leave.
She was off work, I think, for like 14 months in total.
Wow.
She complained about going back. It's like, hon, you've been off for over a year.
Well, that's interesting because that's something that Dan and I like mentioned like as an offhand comment with each other of like, oh, this would have been so much easier if he'd been the freelancer and I'd been the person with the like salaried employed status. Do you think that's true? Or are we like the grass is greener?
No, I definitely think that's true. I think the fact that my wife, we knew we didn't have to worry about childcare for the first year because
whereas we were paying for childcare from when Rowan was like 3-4 months old.
It's definitely different. And also I think in our jobs, it's like, how did you pick 3 months for how long you wanted to take off?
That's a good question, because there was a decision-making situation there. So I had a session with a career coach when after I found out I was pregnant, being like, I need help figuring out what I want to do for mat leave. And what I came out of from that session was that I really would have loved to have taken 6 months off. But the maximum amount of time that I'd seen any mum creator take off, of ones that I'd watched, so Sierra Schultze and Anna Newton, they'd both taken 3 months off.
Right.
That was the max amount of time. I'd seen other creators take everything from like 3 days to 3 months, basically, is what I saw. And so in my head I was just like, okay, they did that, so I can
but
do
there's
that.
no rules. Like,
there's no rules.
Being a freelancer, like, this is the curse and blessing of this job. Like, you know, nobody's going to tell you you're doing it wrong if you take 4 months off or 2 months off.
But the reality is that my sex ed channel suffered from that break. My lifestyle channel was really healthy upon return, because people were like, more interested in the kind of like parenting, motherhood journey amongst all the other stuff that I made on this channel. And I have been steadily losing Instagram followers since Rowan was born.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
The soap video, the viral, definitely brought it up again. But then I really mistimed a week break from social media that I was doing. And you can literally see it in the analytics where it's like, oh, you're in the positive again from this dick soap viral video. And then I took a week off and it just like plummets.
Genuine question out there. Who are you people that are unfollowing Instagram accounts? I can't. Really? You do a cleanse?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever unfollowed anyone on Instagram.
Okay, mate. So that's the thing. Like, I'm not mad about it. It's just.
Oh, you understand where these people are coming from.
It's the name of the game. And also, I have regularly said, just because of the nature of being an online content creator for so long, there are going to be people who followed me 12 years ago whose accounts are inactive, or who, again, is someone like you who's never unfollowed a single person but don't engage in those accounts anymore. And I regularly say, like, I just want 100,000 of my Instagram followers to be cold overnight, because I just want that.
Put that on a poster. Hannah Witton says.
I just want the like follower number and the actual accounts engaging regularly with what I do to kind of reflect reality.
Yeah.
The gradual losing of followers, I'm glad that it's not like one of my big like business goals right now to like grow, but there's still a little bit of me that's just like, oof.
But it's like, we're kind of in uncharted territory really, just in terms of influencers who have been in the game for this long and who've gone through these seismic life events.
Yeah.
We've not seen the entire life cycle of an influencer who started early and then just kind of carried on. And what we're seeing now is like kind of the sunset, I suppose.
But we've seen lots of full life cycles of creators who started around our time, who have since moved on for whatever reason. So I do think that there's something to be said for the fact that we're still here.
That's literally why I have a PhD. It's not because I'm smart, it's because I just didn't give up. Sweated blood for 4 years, and that's what it gets you.
Yeah, I mean, your sunk cost fallacy is a lot bigger than mine.
My sunk cost fallacy could fill the Marianas Trench.
I asked my patrons what questions they had for us.
Okay.
Because they always have some thoughtful things to say. Oh, the other thing I'll mention about Patreon is that I had a lot of people join when I went on mat leave.
That doesn't surprise me.
I literally was just like, I'm not making videos for 3 months, and people were like, let me give you money.
Honestly, Patreon restores so much faith in humanity.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a wonderful thing.
And then what happened was, when I was making my big quit and I was doing lots of financial forecasts, I kind of predicted that I would lose 1/3 of my Patreon income, or 1/3 of my patrons or whatever. And in fact, when I initially made the announcements, people joined, but as kind of predicted and as expected throughout the course of this year, it has like slowly decreased. But I feel like it's kind of plateaued out now, because I've finally made some changes to my Patreon to actually like reflect the current situation. It's very strange having a Patreon as a lifestyle creator.
Yeah.
It's an interesting relational dynamic with your audience to navigate, and the only thing that really makes me feel like it's kind of like worthwhile is the fact that the community is so engaged on there, and it's just really wonderful. And it's weird going from like, oh, I'm making sex and relationships educational content, and isn't that like a worthy cause to be like donating your money to, and now it's like, I'm living my life.
Yep, I'm just me.
I'm just me. But thinking of it as like a paid membership to a community that I run and manage, and like we do a secret Santa every year.
Ah,
It's very cool. I'm
that's
Santa.
such a nice idea.
And, yeah.
You lucky patron.
a lot of fun.
There's a link on screen right now.
Anyway, little sidebar of my Patreon. But these are some things that they have asked. Okay, do you think your responses would have been different if your spouses/co-parents weren't in more conventional salaried roles? And this person has said, as a teacher with a freelance partner, this is on my mind a lot at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if in terms of, you know, who's going to be doing the childcare, who can afford to take time off of work, it's just a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
If you're independent versus a traditional job, a real job.
Yeah. For me, one of the useful things in making the decision that I did was that Dan's salary had gone up a lot. And it's like the career trajectory that he is on, it's looking like it will continue to increase. So as a unit, we haven't lost money because his salary his like increases in salary have replaced mine essentially. If he wasn't doing so well in that sense in his career, was in a different situation, then that would have impacted my decisions more, because I wouldn't have been able to like take as big a risk. But then also, I still have those financial reserves in my business that even now, I'm still paying myself from.
Right.
I'm no longer paying my team from it.
Progress.
But I'm paying myself from it. So there is still work to do, but it doesn't feel urgent because of Dan's income.
I think for us, it wasn't so much the actual income, but it was just the stability of it.
Yeah.
Like, Pixel Wife has a career that is like, you know, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, whereas mine is so ephemeral. And I think if she was working in a sector where it was a bit more, you know, you could be laid off at any moment, then I think that would have impacted our decision. And I think I'm not sure I would have done what I did in that case. I think I probably would have tried to pivot to a more traditional career.
Yeah, the industry that Dan's in as well is like, he's always going to have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, if you both weren't freelancers and in traditional roles, would your responses to the amount you work change?
Ooh.
Yeah. I feel like the amount that we work is partly determined by how much we want to work.
Yeah.
But also partly determined by how much we need to
work.
At the moment, I'm very much leaning to the want and ignoring the need.
Yep. Well, that's a healthy way to do it.
There are seasons, there may be other times, but I feel like if I had a traditional job, there would possibly be less choice in the matter. Like, I might be able to request flexible working or request for 4 day a week or compressed hours, whatever, but ultimately it wouldn't be my decision.
Yeah.
And I think Rowan would have to be in childcare for longer days. We would have had to pick an entirely different person to look after him as well, because Rowan's childminder closes at 5. But a lot of nurseries and like parent friends of mine who do work full time, the nurseries close at like 6, so they're able to.
That's for us.
So they're able to do a full time job and do drop off and pick up. Whereas Rowan's in 9 to 5, so my days are actually shorter. If I had a normal job, we would have to find somewhere else for him to go. And
my days are now actually almost like a normal person's days, because this is the first time that I've ever had work-life separation, and I've actually had a space that I go to and then leave at the end of the day. So I get here at like 8 in the morning, and then I will leave here at like 5:30, 6.
Yeah.
And it means that I'm not working weekends and I'm not working evenings. And so it's actually standardized my working time in a way.
It wouldn't be different if you were in a
I don't think it would.
role.
I think that it's just ended up that I've ended up working like a normal person.
Yeah.
I've got a commute. It's not a long one, but I've got a commute.
Yeah, my commute is from Rowan's childminder to home.
Yeah.
It's lovely. My free time.
I actually wish I had a longer commute. I envy people who get to listen to like a podcast.
Yeah.
Whereas I cycle to work and it takes me like 5 minutes. And it's like, you can't listen to a podcast in that time.
We're currently looking at primary schools, and there's one that's like a 5-minute walk from us and one that's a 15-minute walk. And I'm like, oh, but I want the 15-minute walk.
The 15-minute walk back.
Yeah, exactly. I want that.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's that transitional period from like, okay, parent mode into work mode. Yeah.
I was about to say this is first world problems, but I think that is like quite a relevant thing for your mental health. That like compartmentalizing. Like I'm not.
Especially because I work from home now.
Yeah.
So it all happens in one place under one roof. So
yeah. And I really do value being when I'm leaving, you whack Creed on for like 5 minutes as you're cycling home, and it's like, cool, that's the fire break, and now I'm in dad mode.
Dad mode, yeah. Did you feel any pressure to take on more work / cut back from work because of your gender and the traditional family roles of mother / primary carer and father / other carer?
I definitely felt like, and I'm not saying that anybody told me this, but I felt like sort of pressure to be, you got to step up now, son. You've got to earn more money. You know, and it's interesting that previously I am not a money-driven person.
There's another mouth to feed.
But yeah, like, and it's different when it's not I'm going to go on holiday. It's I want my kid to go on a nice holiday. Like it's changed the way that I perceive money, and I think that is me falling into that stereotype.
I'm still very much I would like a nice holiday. I would really like a nice holiday without kids.
Oh yeah, it's a nice holiday without. Yes, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that sort of societal expectation of being a man and being the dad, you're the breadwinner, like that definitely.
That's wild to me that it still kind of seeps in.
Yeah, because I'm aware of it. Yeah. I'm aware that it's not the case, and I'm aware that is sort of just like this text of society that's telling me to do that. But you know, there's a tug on you, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I also lost my dad in the same year that I felt like it's becoming the patriarch of the family almost, like
stepping into those shoes
and having really big shoes to fill. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like. I don't know how much of it is to do with my gender or more to do with the fact that I am the freelance one. So I could be more flexible. Like I basically, unless with extenuating circumstances, I do drop off and pick up every day because I can. Yeah. Whereas Dan can't do that every day without massively changing his job and taking a huge pay cut. But I guess that's what I did. Yeah. Just now I'm realising.
I was going to say, did you have the conversation, or was it just?
We did, yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah, because we had lots of conversations where he would be like, oh, you get your Fridays of rowing, and like, oh, I'd love that. And I'm like, do you want to go down to 4 days a week? And he's like, no.
I quite like the money, actually. I'd like to go on a nice holiday.
And so again, it's just one of those things where like we're balancing our individual wants and needs with the family needs and then Rowan's needs. So it's worked out, but there's always sacrifices. But
you're adapting. You're making massive changes to your life for the first time with your first child. Yeah. Like you don't know what you're doing.
No,
you're making these really big decisions, and I feel like you get better at balancing those factors.
Yeah.
The older you are, but like you are forced to make a really big decision.
Yeah.
Without very much experience at all.
Yeah.
And you might realise after the fact that you got it wrong.
Yeah, I do think that part of me was like actually very grateful for having a baby, well, for many reasons, but also it was like a nice excuse to dial things back.
Yeah.
I think the kind of like the content treadmill and the constantly like
feeling burned out.
Yeah, like I just was getting so close to it, and actually like having a baby was like the wake up call of like, oh, I now have a valid reason to take a step back, whereas before I would never have given myself that permission to take a step back, even if and when I wanted to.
It's almost like when you have plans with friends or something to go somewhere
and they cancel on you,
or like you get a cold and you're like, I've got a reason to not go. Oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No. I think that's a good comparison. Yeah.
Having a child is like catching a cold. Yeah. Funnily enough, when they go to childcare, it is
constant. How did your plans and expectations going into parental leave match the reality of coming back onto the platform full-time after having your children? Was the financial strain greater, about the same, or less than expected? And how did that affect your strategy for making content?
For me, I remember coming back, and I think the first video I released after she was born was this project that I've been working on for months, and it was like the highest budget thing that I'd ever made. And it didn't flop per se, but it did not perform at all as well as I'd hoped it would.
Yeah.
And so there was like it like doubled down that financial pressure.
You're like, oh shit.
Because I was like, I thought this was going to be the way forward, that like, that would be the big project that gives you a big payday and it gives you the wiggle room to then work on the next big project.
Yeah.
Whereas, at least in my situation, when you're kind of moving paycheck to paycheck, like you've got to make something as frequently as you are, because that's how you make enough money to keep going. And so I'd hoped that I could change, like the strategy was that it would be different, and it turned out being the same as it was before. And then eventually, we sort of put that video out, and that did change things.
Yeah. For me, I think I didn't change the strategy at all when I first came back, which was probably a big mistake, but I just didn't know what else to do other than what I knew how to do.
Yeah.
And there's working part-time, being massively sleep deprived and having gone through this like huge change and still breastfeeding, like, you know, it was full on. I had no mental capacity to figure out a new way of working. And so it was just like, okay, let's continue releasing 2 videos a week and 1 podcast a week. And it was just like,
I don't think people talk about, I don't think people acknowledge the fact that you are doing this all under that kind of duress.
Yeah. And it just makes no sense when I think about that time, like from when I came back from mat leave to the end of 2022, I was putting out the same amount of content, like quantity of content, whilst working half the amount of time I was working before. The math does not math. And yes, granted, I had outsourced more in order to be able to do that. But then what it meant was 2 things were massively suffering: the finances of my business, and then also just like my emotional engagement in it. I had kind of emotionally checked out of a lot of that kind of
I think it might be fair to say that for both of us, we hadn't thought about just how profoundly our lives would be different after going back from parental leave. And if I were to do it again, I think I would come up with a much clearer strategy beforehand. I think at the time, maybe I thought I could just sort of wing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've always done. And because you've never gone through as large a life-changing event as having a child.
Yeah. I came up with like a whole strategy for mat leave itself,
yeah.
but then not for
the
return. And so, yeah, I think like hopefully second time round, I would do probably a very similar thing that I did in the mat leave plan. Like I think that was a good plan and executed well, but then I would need to rethink the following up thing. I don't know. Because also I think it did Rowan a lot of good, like going into childcare so young. Like obviously it can do kids a lot of good, whatever way you choose, but in our specific situation, he's like thrived in terms of being around other adults and children, like since he was really little. Will I take 6 months off, but like off in terms of like making a video as and when I want to, you know, rather than like having like a strict 3 months off and then like a plan. I don't know.
I do think, this is from the non-primary caregiver's perspective, I appreciated having a project to work on that was a video, because I feel like when you have a kid and they're very, very small, it feels like you're colleagues with your partner on a project. Yeah. And, you know, you're both, that's all consuming. It's all you talk about, it's all you do. And so to have your own project, like I can imagine making a video when you want to would be a nice way to channel some positive energy.
I also think like for me in that initial time when Rowan started in childcare and I was working half days, I like really loved being able to switch between the 2 brains. And a lot of the things that some of my other mum friends were like talking about towards the end of their mat leave and when they were going back to work, when they were like, what has happened to my brain? I'm so slow, I can't keep up. And like worrying about all of those kinds of things. I didn't find that at all because from very early on, I was in work mode as well. And because I was working such short hours in the day, I had to be so efficient and just like
100%.
jump in, like get it done, and then go run out the door to go get him.
It's made me better at my job, I think. I think having a kid has made me more efficient and it's made me way more targeted because now I didn't care about my life before, but like now I have like a thing to go home and care about, and I want to get that time with her before she goes to bed. Yeah,
it does make you kind of reprioritize, but then also use your time very differently. Do you think the demographics of your audiences, age, gender, etc., had any impact on the different approaches you took? Yes, for me, I think a lot of my audience, women going through similar things, like starting their own like parenthood journeys or looking to that in the near future. And so by leaning more into, or at least keeping the lifestyle content, like the fact that I knew that there was an audience there for that and people were keen for it, definitely, you know, influenced my decision to keep it. But the main reason why I wanted to keep it was because I was enjoying making it, and then it was helpful that people were interested in it too.
I'd not really considered that question before. I think not really. Maybe it changed the strategy in as much as my target audience, I think it's fair to say, largely don't have kids themselves. They're largely a bit younger than that, and as such would not maybe understand as well. Not to say that they lacked any empathy, but like they might not understand as much if I took it longer off.
Right.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I think if I was targeting dads in their 50s and 60s and I said, I'm taking 6 months off to be with my new baby, I think they would probably be more likely to get it.
Interesting.
I
Do you
don't...
want to take 6 months off if you could?
In retrospect, I think maybe. I think I wish that I'd had a bit more time then, partly so that I could have spent more time with my daughter, but also so that I could support it with my wife.
Yeah. So is your current business goals for Simon is to like bank enough business savings to create that buffer for a possible baby number 2, but also then set the business up for success so that there is a business to come back to at the end. That's always the scary thing. Like, you're like, oh, I want to take all of this time off, but in doing so, will there even be a job for me to come back to?
Will people remember who I am?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a fair goal to work towards.
What are each of your favourite things about being a parent?
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. There's so many things to choose from.
I know, it is kind of ridiculous how fucking good it is.
Can I tell you my favourite moment of the day?
Yes, go on.
My favourite moment of the day is when I take her out of the bath and then the bathroom's next to her bedroom. So you take her out, she's like wriggling, put her down on the changing mat with a towel already on, and then we do like a game. It's kind of like peekaboo but drying her at the same time.
Yeah, nice.
Covering her up and like, and then like she giggles like mad. That's the best. That game of playing that with her is my favourite part of the day, because then it also rolls into getting her ready, reading her stories. Then I sing her to sleep every night when I'm doing the put down. And
yeah,
it doesn't.
We
get
have
better than
lots
that.
of post-bath games as well. It's a good time, and the singing to sleep as well now has been like Rowan. If I'm not there and Dan's doing bedtime, he'll request mummy song.
What are your songs? Have you
Oh
shared?
yeah, I've got a whole track list that I go through, and Dan has his own track list that he goes through. To the extent where I've heard Dan's track list so many times that if I sing "You've Got a Friend in Me," then you know when you like on an album, like back when we used to listen to actual albums, you could then immediately go into whatever the next track is. I have that, but it's like Dan's singing Rowan to Sleep mixtape. Like I know, like you go from "You Got a Friend in Me" to "Sunny Afternoon" to, I can't remember off the top of my head, but if I was singing it, I would know. But my first song that I do is cliched, but it's "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like a lot of dream sleepy themes. So it's "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes," and then it's "Dream a Little Dream of Me," and then it's "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," and then it's...
How confident are you with the lyrics with all of them?
Really confident, because if I'm not sure, I genuinely have looked them up.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
To me, it makes a big difference that the lyrics are correct. My wife does not have this concern. Like, I've listened to her, she's got "God Help the Outcasts" from Hunchback of Notre Dame wrong a lot. And I'm in the next room like, it's not that line.
Yeah, but favourite things about being a parent. I think, so Rowan's 2.5 now, and it is just like bewildering every time. And this was happening like from the moment he was born. Every time they do something new, every time they do something that you did not know that they could do.
When did you learn how to do that?
Yeah, like we've got some like alphabet magnets on the fridge, and the other day he like picked one up and I was like, oh, that's the letter E, and he just went, E for elephant, and I was like, what?
Whoa!
Which obviously he's just, I think, just memorized rather than like, no, but I was still just like impressed.
Do you have phrases? My friend of mine had definitely one of these where like you just end up saying the same thing, a same set phrase over and over again to them, and you know that they're going to end up parroting it back.
Right, yeah.
Like for me, whenever we read stories before bed, she always wants to go back to earlier pages, and I'm like, we read stories in a linear fashion. And I just can see that she's going to burst that out at one point.
One day. Well, no, it does happen, because I remember one time Rowan like tripping up over something, falling down, and then getting up and going, it happens.
It is what it is, you know.
Honestly, like some of the things that they do that just like amaze you and also crack you up. Rowan loves being scared, like, and so we often do like jump scares, like boo, like, really seriously, like he screams and like giggles and runs off. And one time Dan scared him and he jumped and turned to like run into the kitchen, but had misread where the door was,
right,
and just like comically slammed his entire body and face into the wall.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
It's so funny. Obviously he burst into tears.
Yeah.
And I immediately went to him and like picked him up, and we, you know, were comforting him and everything. And then Dan and I are looking at each other like suppressing laughter. It was a lot. But there's a lot of favourite things that I have that are to do with like the things that like they do.
Yeah.
But then one of the other beautiful things that I love is those moments of connection that Dan and I get, where like Rowan's doing whatever, and I like share a look or a giggle at like, this is fucking cool.
We often look at each other and we're like, how did we make
Yeah.
how do we make something this perfect?
Yeah.
I think my favourite thing overall, like the whole time of being a parent, was maybe like 3 to 6 months, and she would only nap in her pram. And
This is when we visited you. You would trick her into thinking you were going out in the pram and just leave the pram in the hall.
In the hallway. And then you put white noise on and it would be fine. But what would happen is we'd have the monitor on, and so you'd wake up and she'd be in the hallway with the door shut, and you'd walk in, open the door, stand over her, and she'd like notice you there and then smile. And I got it on video once. I walked in with my camera, and it's like, it's moments like that. I think you can't describe how it makes you feel. Yeah. It's so difficult to pick the best part about being a parent. Funnily enough, it's like picking your favourite child, because there are so many unique, beautiful, incredible experiences to pick from.
So, you know, all of the like career crises and financial troubles and existential crises, it's all worth it.
It's so believably worth it.
That's the cliche that all parents, well, most parents actually, will say.
Would I go through the terror of feeling like my career was over and I'd never get a job again if it meant that I could do it again?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being a parent's lit.
It's fucking sick. Right, let's leave it there, because actually I do want to go see your child.
Yeah, let's have some cuddle time.
I want to go see her. So thanks for watching. Oh, are we going to continue this vlog is the question. So do I need to sign off the video now, or do we keep going?
I mean, we keep a Pixel Baby off camera, so I think you may need to.
So let's end it here. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Simon, for having me in your studio.
Absolute pleasure. We talked for a lot longer than we thought we would.
Oops, sorry.
Just very enthusiastic about parenting.
But I think it's interesting, the fact that, we were faced with a similar conundrum and then took two different routes.
Both seemingly working out.
So far, so good-ish.
Report back in a year.
Yeah, exactly. It's like temporary, like long-term, who knows. But yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. Sign up to my Patreon.
Can we have a transcript of this as over out of focus footage of this? Sign up to Hannah's Patreon, it's great. They do a Secret Santa, how amazing is that?
I know, too late to sign up this year.
Next year you could join the Secret Santa.
Yeah.
I want this all in the transcript.
I hope you're all doing well, and we'll see you in the next video, which might be Vlognica. I don't know where we're at. Vlognica's coming soon, baby. Let's fucking go.
New sentences. Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go. We're finished filming, and obviously I forgot to plug Simon's channel and Patreon, so go do that. And now he's using me as an experiment for whatever these things are. Well, I know what they are, but like whatever they're for, let's do it.
We're going to demonstrate the conservation of angular momentum, folks.
So when Rowan was born, Simon and Pixel Wife bought some books. You bought Quantum Physics for Babies.
Yeah.
Which I didn't understand. I've read it multiple times now.
I feel like it's a pretty good primer.
And I'm like, Dan gets it. I'm like, it's like, this is a ball. And then it's got the neutrons and the electrons. Anyway, it's too much for me. I got an A* in GCSE physics.
Really?
I did, yeah.
So I didn't mean to sound surprised.
Put me in a classroom and explain things, and then I'll do well. But
So what we're going to do is, let's just see how easily this spins.
what is this experiment?
So we're going to be spinning you around like this, right?
What have I signed up?
So what's going to happen is, you're going to have these out, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm going to tell you to bring your arms in.
Okay.
So,
do we want to do a control where I do it without holding?
It won't tell us very much.
Okay. Yeah, you're the scientist.
So do you just want to practice holding them out? Your hair looks very nice, by the way.
Thank you.
From the back, it looks lovely.
Okay.
Right, there we go.
Oh my God.
Spin you around. Okay, bring it in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's not that noticeable. We need more speed.
Oh God. Wait, hold on. Do I need to put them out?
Put them out. Put them out.
Oh, I can really feel that.
Okay, now pull in. Oh, it's not that noticeable with this chair. Okay.
What is this? What are we supposed to see? Oh,
So
God.
when you bring them in, you should start spinning much faster.
Oh, am I not bringing them in fast enough?
No, it won't be to do with that. It's just the fact that the chair doesn't spin that easily. I guess we need to make sure the chair we use.
Yes, because you could do a thing where you're making yourself like speed up, slow down, speed up, down.
Yeah, so when you start spinning with them out wide, you've got lots of angular momentum. But then if you bring them in, you have to conserve your angular momentum. It has to be the same. But because you've changed to where the mass is distributed, you have to start spinning faster.
Right.
So it's what like ballerines, like ice dancers when they bring their arms in.
Oh, and then they do that.
Yeah, it goes super, super fast.
Yeah.
So that tells me that I need to make sure the chair we use is super, super spinny. That's good. That's good data.
There you go. I helped.
And it tells me that they're not too heavy. So good.
Yes. For little old me.
My head's still spinning from the last one. Right, okay, watch this. So I'm going to go around, get myself spinning nice and fast, and then bring in these. And if I bring them out again,
Oh, yeah.
really slow down and...
Okay, so why did it work for you? Hello.
Sorry, hang on. I don't know why that worked so much more for me than it did for you. Maybe it's because my arms are longer than yours.
Oh. So, because my arms aren't reaching far enough out beyond the chair.
I think that might be what's happening. So yeah, if you scoot yourself, maybe that will also make a difference. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't seem to make much difference. You're just stopping really quickly.
Oh, I sped up then. I'm also not like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
I want to go back to your house and see Pixel Baby.
I would like to see the baby.
I would like to see the baby.